Hey everybody, it's April 30th. I'm Adam and this is your daily dose of today. Today I want to speak about success and failure to some extent through my own personal lens. This morning I was contemplating about how challenging it has been to get back into my fitness and nutrition zone since my shoulder surgery. This was about 10 weeks of near zero activity and not appropriate eating and all these things compiled on. But I felt like this morning when I woke up that I finally have momentum in that area, and it dawned on me that success is like a flywheel, though I'm sure I'm not the only person to have ever used this analogy. But if you're not familiar with mechanics, a flywheel is used in engines and other apparatus that to transfer power into these disc, and that results in an even distribution of power energy is stored in there, and the disc evenly disperses that. It's used in your vehicles and other engines to make sure that you have consistent power. In short, it's one of the reasons why your car ride is as smooth as it is, though there is all this combustion going on inside and things moving in a somewhat erratic state, or seemingly. But one of the principles that a flywheel operates under is that it relies on inertia. And in short, a flywheel is kind of hard to get moving at first. It takes a lot of energy to get it to start to move because it wants to stay at rest, hence inertia. But once you get it moving and you can get it consistently moving, then it'll continue to spin for a long time, because it's got all that energy that you've poured into it. If you think of a handle crank around there and just spinning it around, it continues to spin long after you've done it. Think about as a kid when you're on a merry-go-round and pushing that merry-go-round going, and then you could sit there and ride on that thing until it threw you off or until you vomited, right? That's a sure sign. If you did that, it's a sure sign that you grew up in my generation or sooner, right? But it continues to spin long after that, right? Long after you're dizzy, long after you're sick and nauseous, long after you quit spinning it, it's still going. It's taking you for a ride. Well, that's the principles of a flywheel. And success is that way. If you think about when you first start moving that merry-go-round, if you just kind of gave it 2-3 steps, you sit on it, you'd quickly bring it to a halt. It's easy to stop a flywheel whenever it first started going. As a matter of fact, that's the principle of it. The flywheel wants to stay at rest. It wants to result to rest. So by not pushing it very much and you don't pour much energy into it, that energy quickly dissipates and it stops. And that's the same way with success. Anything hard, anything worth doing, you're going to have to pour energy into to get it moving. And a lot more energy at the beginning than what you think is necessary to keep it moving. But the goal is not for super fast revolutions. The goal is not to get that merry-go-round or what have you going 70,000 RPMs, or to get your car engine going at the highest amount of RPMs as possible. But what the goal is to be able to pour enough energy into it that you can get on and you can ride it for a while. And it's the same thing for success. You pour a lot into get a business going at first, or into your weight loss goals or things at first. You build those good habits and then the engine takes over. Just like your metabolism. You keep training your metabolism with good food and with healthy exercise, and that metabolism gets moving and it starts burning calories. You take my friend who's one of the fittest people I've ever met in my life, and the man can eat obnoxiously if he wanted to, because his body's burning probably 3 times the calories just at rest at mine is. Why? Because he's trained that metabolism. He's got that flywheel moving. But if he was to stop working out and stop pouring energy into that flywheel, what would happen? He'd be a sad state of affairs like me, right? It would slowly come down. A flywheel is not indefinite energy. It eventually slows down. And then what happens? As it slows down, it takes a lot more energy to move it back to those higher revolutions again. You have to pour in all that energy. It's an exponential function of what you have to pour in there. And the same thing with your goals. So why do I say all this? Because it might seem at first that you're moving slow and you're not getting much momentum and you're pouring a lot of energy into the flywheel of your success. But that's important, because once you get it moving, there's going to be times where you need to jump on. You need to jump on and let it carry you for a little bit. right? I couldn't push that merry-go-round, indefinitely around, but I can get on and ride for a little bit, and after I do a few revolutions, what have you, I can get back off, push it back up to speed again. And that's the same way with your success. Your goals, your business adventures, pour into it, and move your goal to the next phase, and then if you need to, take a break, for a short break. But then you need to know when to get back off and push back on again. But most importantly, in those beginning phases when you're just getting things moving, you have to stay relentless about pouring energy into that flywheel and keeping it moving, because that's the easiest way for it to stop. You look at the beginning of the year and people do fitness, they're out by February. You start a new diet, you're out in 2 to 3 weeks. But if you stay consistent, and I've seen anywhere from 6 weeks to 75 days to 100 days, but if you get anywhere in that nature of doing things consistently, you have poured enough energy into that flywheel that it'll start to carry you, and it's not as hard to keep it moving at that. And then what can you do? You can either ride that flywheel for a little bit if you need the break, or you can start taking it to the next level and turning the next flywheel or putting more RPMs in there. But ultimately, those first revolutions and getting the energy into that flywheel for you to be successful is challenging. But I urge you, stick with it. I know I can feel it now. I can feel the energy in my flywheel as well, and I just wanted to share that with you. Don't be discouraged. The energy you're pouring in there will pay you back in dividends. This has been your daily dose of today.